Hey everybody, it's Tristan Shuffles here with a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck profile. I've been playing this illusion deck with the Horus monsters because both engines give you a lot of recursion, so that's probably something a lot of you have seen before. We have two new illusion monsters though that have just been added to the game in the most recent set. The first one being the more famous one, Master Tau the Chanter. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. That's just the basic illusion effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one illusion monster in your graveyard except Master Tau the Chanter, special summon in defense position. Also, you can have special summon from the graveyard for the rest of this turn except illusion monsters. You can only use this effect of Master Tau the Chanter once per turn. That card's pretty standard in most illusion builds, including those in the TCG where there's a lot more options. So I wanted to include the other one today because I think it's actually pretty interesting and can help you not only survive the second turn if you go first and you get your board absolutely broken, but also set you up for victory on turn 3. And that card is Emissary from the House of Wax. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from the hand, so it has that Battle Fader-like effect. You can only use this effect of Emissary from the House of Wax once per turn. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle, so most people forget to read that and attack this thing multiple times thinking it will be destroyed, but it's too late. They're already not winning by battle that turn. At the end of your opponent's battle phase, you can activate this effect until the start of your opponent's next battle phase. All attack position monsters your opponent currently controls cannot change their battle positions, nor be used as material for a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link summon. Also, their effects are negated. So it pretty much blanks out their main phase too and prevents them from keeping any of their negates for the next turn because all their monster effects are negated. So they have fewer interruptions on field and fewer negates. This puts you in a pretty good position to end the game, especially with monsters with huge attack points, which the Horus monsters of course are. So let's review each of the cards and then we can get into the games. 3 Maxi, that's pretty standard. 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, that's pretty standard. Master Tau, we've talked about that card already. And then, of course, the famous Emissary from the House of Wax, who will see some action in these games. Edgem Chain, only used as the target for Fright for Patchwork, which allows you to add an Edgem monster and a polymerization card. So we're playing 2 polymerization. 1 Fallen of Albaz. We're playing this so that we can use Branded Fusion and the 3 Albaz targets. Albion the Branded Dragon, Mirajid the Iceblade Dragon, and Lubellion the Searing Dragon. The reason to use Branded Fusion in this deck is to bait out your opponent's Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, because you don't want them using Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring on the Mirror Sword Knight, which allows you to tribute itself to special summon a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion, which will be the Big Wing Berfomet because it adds 2 more cards to your hand, including that Chimera Fusion. So there's the counterpart for Big Wing Berfomet, which is Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws, and Cornfield Codal. Usually I activate this as soon as I have it. That way you can add a card from your deck to your hand, an illusion monster rather, and most often the target for that is going to be Mirror Sword Knight, but if you have Mirror Sword Knight already, I'm probably always going to go for adding Emissary from the House of Wax at this point, because it's just pretty good. Then we have the 3 Horus monsters, or at least the good ones. 3 Imseti, Glory of the Horus, which can search the King's Sarcophagus. And Duamutef, Blessing of the Horus. This is the least good one here, but it can still draw you some cards. And it's a beast, so it means it can be fusion material for a lot of those extra deck monsters. Happy is too good to pass up on. 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being. 3 Super Polymerization. This helps you break boards, and it gives you some options on turn 2 as well. And Call by the Grave, essential for combating Maxi. Same situation with Crossout Designator. The Nibiru is pretty much a Crossout Designator target, that's why we're only playing 1, but sometimes you can draw it off of Maxi. And last but not least is Chimera Fusion, which is the heart of any illusion deck at this point. Reviewing the extra deck, we have Mud Dragon of the Swamp, Garura, Wings of Resonant Life, Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts, Berfomet the Mythical King, those two first ones are mostly super polymerization targets, but also you can make them off of regular polymerization some of the time, depending on the board state. But really the cards you want to be making from the extra deck for your fusion summons are Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast, because this gets you a free discard, or Berfomet, the Mythical King, which also counts as Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, which means that the negates from Cornfield Kotal and Mirror Sword Knight will always be live for you. Yeah, so with this card's effect, you'll want to send one Beast Fiend or Illusion Monster from your deck to the graveyard, and the targets for that will generally be Cornfield Kotal or Mirror Sword Knight, or you could send Master Tau to revive one of the illusions already in the graveyard, which we'll see in one of the replays I have lined up. Next is Predaplant, Dragostapelia. This is too good of a generic fusion target to pass up on. The three Albaz fusion monsters. Chimera, the Illusion Beast. This really never comes up, but sometimes it can scare your opponent into thinking it's the boss monster of your deck so that they banish it off of Kashtira Unicorn or other cards that damage your extra deck. Really, a better target for them might be Magnum the Reliever, which comes up a lot more and not only has some draw power, but also an interruption where you can banish a polymerization card to target one card in the field and destroy it. Then there's the Heart and Soul of the deck, Guardian Chimera. I've seen people playing 2 copies, I'm only playing 1. You know, it's an ultra rare. You don't really need 2 of this thing. I don't think games go on that long that it ever really comes up because its effect to destroy and draw is only once per turn. Next up we have Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. This is a strong card, and it's a super polymerization target in this deck because we're not playing any Yubel monsters. Hopefully our opponents are, but I might end up cutting this if we don't see enough Yubel on ladder, especially since Phantom of Yubel cannot be used as fusion material, which we're seeing more and more copies of in Yubel decks than this card, for example. There's one Xyz monster in the deck which you can make off of the Horus level 8s, which is Hieratic Sky Dragon, Overlord of Heliopolis. This provides you some targeting protection, so basically if you have all the Horus monsters you need on turn 1, you can summon this to prevent the opponent from using infinite impermanence on your Big Wing Berfomet, but it doesn't come up that often, so I might as well cut this. Next up is the Master Duel exclusive Verte Anaconda. This card speaks for itself. It's banned in the TCG and the OCG, so I don't know what it's doing here, but if you're ever in a tough situation and you have 2 effect monsters left, you can end up on Mirror Jade by sending Branded Fusion, or even use Super Polymerization via this card's monster effect. Last up is SP Little Knight. This card is essential in any extra deck. You're actually not fusion locked that much of the time in this deck. Of course, unless you use Branded Fusion. The other way you can be fusion locked is through Big Wing Berfomet's effect. But a lot of the time that's being negated. So that's the list, and let's get into some games. Our first opponent here is on Pearly. We are going to go first. We draw our best starter in the Mirror Sword Knight, so we're going to play that straight away. That gets hit with Ash Blossom. We still have plays here, luckily, because of the Chimera Fusion, so we can make the Chimera King of the Phantom Beast here. Claw's effect to add. Our beast gets negated on field, but that's still a 1-for-1 with them effectively discarding Imperm instead of a random card from their hand, and we can play our Maxi now. They pass, meaning they have no plays into Maxi. You can add back the Chimera Fusion here and get in for a bit of damage, but no real plays because they have no monsters on board, so summoning the boss Chimera would not be good here, so we just go for Maxi again. They set 2. This is going to be one of those games decided by Maxi, it looks like, so activating Chimera Fusion here, but it is in the Imperm column, unfortunately, but we can still get it back, so not too big of a deal. Then we go into Verte, We've already baited out one negate with the Chimera Fusion, so then I go for the Branded Fusion, feeling pretty safe about that until they use Effect Failure, meaning they're pretty much breaking on hand trap cards at this point. So we set the Chimera Fusion and hope for the best. We still have the Nibiru in hand for some protection. And then they finally draw into some engine and get Pearly off the top. And there it is, Pearly Happy Memory, so they can extend from there into their pretty much full combo. They've got Lily, and then they bring out the Pearly Street, and I try to use the Chimera's effect from the graveyard to bring the Mirror Sword Knight back and play right into their Maxi. Luckily, I can still add with Guardian Chimera and bait out the negate from their Pearly Beauty, so that way Guardian Chimera's effect on field can resolve here. It also allows us to go back into House of Wax. I don't know why they use Pearly here to go into X-Pearly Noir, but I was able to destroy both their monsters on field because even though they have targeting protection, Guardian Chimera does not target the cards it destroys on field. They add back with the Pearleap. And they keep extending as if pretty much nothing happened, making me wish maybe I hadn't used the Nibiru as fusion material, but it's okay. Because we've got the Emissary of the House of Wax on our field. And watch what happens as they play right into it. They're extending, but they're not really doing the play that you do in turn 2 in Pearly, which is to summon the one that can attack multiple times. And they lose to time. Even if they had been able to keep playing into main phase 2 because of Emissary's effect, they couldn't have made something like Zeus because their monsters couldn't be used as Xyz materials, so that game felt pretty wrapped up to me. We have a second game here. This is another one where Maxi plays a big part, but we don't play into it. We're going to start off with the regular combo starter, Gazelle here, and use the Chimera Fusion, playing right into that Maxi I mentioned. So now our discard effect is effectively useless, but we still resolve it, luckily, and are able to add the Cornfield Kotal, which allows us to add the Mirror Sword Knight, so we can have our engine in place for next turn. And we also use the Imseti's effect to add King Sarcophagus, add the fusion back, and set and pass. And now we have Maxi as well, but I didn't activate it in the draw phase like I usually do, because I wanted to scout out what they were playing. That turns out to be a mistake because they're playing Tashjira. I don't want them to get the Unicorn effect here, so I go straight for Guardian Chimera. If they have Birth to recover from this, they have it. They banished the Cornfield Kotal for some reason. Probably not the best choice, and they scoop it up after that. So that game was a good example of what happens when you play it safe into Maxi with this Illusion deck. I have one more replay with this deck where Emissary from the House of Wax does what it's supposed to do, and we'll see it in action here. We go second. Pretty bad hand for going second, considering even though we have 2 combo starters, we have no hand traps to stop any of their plays. They play some branded cards, which makes me think they're playing branded, but it's just one engine in their 60 card deck that also has Voiceless Voice cards, so they did a main Voiceless Voice combo with Low here, and are going to bring out the Skull Guardian soon, and Grand Guignol from the branded engine. They get all their searches. And they also search Shaddoll Schism, which allows them to fuse on my turn, so we have to worry about Winda. But luckily no Maxi, so it's probably fine. Oh look, there's Maxi. Anyway, we can't really use it now, so we use Cornfield Kotal. And after seeing that they probably don't have Ash, we feel safe to use Imseti there. And then they use their Maxi. So I use my Maxi. They negate the Baphomet on field here. Okay for us, because we don't really need to add anything back, because we already have Chimera Fusion and all the illusion monsters that we want, except for Master Tau, so we grab that here. Use Mirror Sword Knight. Add back the Chimera Fusion. We've effectively baited out everything that they're going to do, so I feel pretty safe about using King Sarcophagus. I'm worried about Winda here, though, so I go into Guardian Chimera straight away to try to destroy the Schism, but then they go for Construct, so I guess maybe they wanted to draw more cards off of Maxi. Either way, I'm able to destroy low here because, as I mentioned in the last game, Guardian Chimera doesn't target. And we still have a pretty full hand because we're able to send the Edge monster there. And use Fright for Patchwork to add 2 more. From here, I'm using Branded Fusion. Again, I was using this to bait out Ash Blossom, but I guess they really don't have it, even with such a large hand. So we go into Mirror Jade, which finally allows us to get rid of the Construct without having to worry about his graveyard effects. Then we go into Magnum the Reliever here. And I didn't really want to destroy the Skull Guardian by card effect because I knew it would be a problem. But now that we've banished the low, I might as well go in for the damage. Missed lethal here. Probably could have found a better way to get it. But we still have that Emissary of the House of Wax, even though its attack points wouldn't have made a difference in that matchup. So they're going with the pre-preparation of Rites into their full Voiceless Voice combo once again. Skull Guardian comes out. Low comes out. I was a little slow on the draw on this. Maybe I should have destroyed the Skull Guardian with Magnum the Reliever's effect before it could get a negate up, but it has the negate up and they use it. They go for the Shadow Construct, Royal Rare, that was looking nice. And they go for El Shadow Fusion, but instead of using it in the battle phase, which is probably the most effective way to use that card, they use it right away on the King Sarcophagus, even though I don't have any horse monsters on my field. Then they ram everything into Emissary from the House of Wax for some reason, and get all their effects negated, and they can't make any more plays after that, so we draw for turn. And we have many ways to get to lethal on board, so even if they had destroyed something like the Guardian Chimera in the last battle, we would be totally fine. We can also bring Horus back, even though the King Sarcophagus is negated, because it's still in the field. Here is the deck list once again, and was Emissary of the House of Wax good? I thought so. I thought it was pretty good in those games. But is it the illusion monster you should keep playing, especially going over 40 cards? Probably not after the new Illusion Monsters release, but until then, it's a great tech choice that I had a lot of fun with, and I hope you try it out too. So if you want to see more deck profiles like this, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.